A report has come out that the Toronto Blue Jays are looking to add Juan Soto, and they've been very aggressive in his pursuit. Now, another report came out from John Heyman that the package would include Alek Manoah and that the Padres are interested in adding Manoah as a bounce back candidate. What else it would take remains to be seen, but the Blue Jays are in on Soto, and they've made that known. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. Jays fans, I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Now, this offseason, the way that it's felt in the past couple of weeks here, Nick, it's Soto, Ohtani, or bust. Yeah. I mean, you got to get one of those two guys if you're the Blue Jays front office, because at this point, the fans are eager. They've been impatient, and they're waiting for a move to happen. We do expect Ohtani to sign within the next few days, or if not later on in the week as the winter meetings start to ramp up here. But Juan Soto is another interesting candidate, and they're very comparable players in the sense that Shohei Ohtani cannot pitch next season. So Juan Soto and Shohei, when you're just comparing pure hitters, they're very comparable, and Juan Soto may even have the edge on him when it comes to plate discipline and things of that nature. So he's a very good player. By no means is he a consolation prize in this two-man race that we're talking about here. He's a great player. It's going to take a lot to acquire him. And the Blue Jays seem to be willing to go that extra mile and outbid other teams, whether it be for Shohei or for Juan Soto.
Yeah, and that unfortunate thing is the crazy that we're even speaking about acquiring either of these guys. It doesn't seem like we're going to acquire both of them, but like you said, it's definitely not a consolation prize acquiring one of the best hitters that I've ever seen. But a quick reminder, hit the subscribe button before we get into it. 70% of you guys aren't subscribed, and our goal is 12,500 subs by Christmas. All right, Peter, let's get into it. This is going to be a Soto-focused video because of the Heyman report that you dropped. We're going to discuss, there's a bunch of reports, because a million reports are coming out every single day, some of them more reliable than others. So this is, like you said, Peter, the Blue Jays starting pitcher, Alek Manoah, has come up in Juan Soto trade talks with the Padres, and there's some other stuff here. So this was just a couple hours ago, saying other clubs, including the Blue Jays, remain engaged on Soto as well. But if he's going to be traded this week, it's starting to feel like it might be the Yankees or bust, from Mark Feinstein, who's a reliable reporter. So Peter, let's just focus on the Manoah thing here first. So we kind of expected this. Tiedemann was the guy who we were hoping wasn't going to get traded. But now if you're looking at Alek Manoah potentially getting traded, I would be more willing to give up on Manoah than Ricky Tiedemann, just because of obviously how bad the season was last year. But do you think that the Jays, it's a good idea to get rid of Manoah? Let's not forget, he's 1 year removed from having a Cy Young caliber season.
Well, the one thing I'll counter with Nick here is that Ricky Tiedemann probably not going to have much of an impact next season. And if you're acquiring Juan Soto, you have him for 1 year, and then beyond that, you're not sure if he's going to re-sign or even entertain staying in Toronto. So we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but who's going to have a bigger impact on the Blue Jays in 2024? Is it going to be Alek Manoah, or is it going to be Ricky Tiedemann? And barring a disaster, I think the answer is going to be Alek Manoah 99 times out of 100. So I'm looking at that, and I'm saying, well, if the Blue Jays do go acquire Juan Soto, that basically signals to me that they're going all in. And I know we don't want another Gabby Moreno situation who goes and becomes a star instantly with the Arizona Diamondbacks. But I still think Ricky Tiedemann is a couple of years away from being that truly dominant arm that we think he can be. So when we're talking about acquiring Juan Soto, I'm looking at the optics of next season, and I'm looking at who's going to have the bigger impact on the current Blue Jays roster. And I think that answer is going to be Alek Manoah. But the Padres want prospects, and they want MLB-ready players. So to acquire Soto, it might even take both of them, which is not out of the realm of possibility here, and I'd be willing to do it if it means acquiring Juan Soto and having him in that lineup, because I think that puts the Jays over the top.
I would be willing to do it if we could hopefully somehow agree to an extension, because that is a lot to go up for 1 year of Juan Soto. But I do also think that if we do get Juan Soto, an extension would be possibly even likely based on what the Jays spending is. So you see here on your screen, these are the trade values of the players. Now, these values aren't exactly right, but this is like kind of a mock trade if you're giving up both of them. Tiedemann's value alone is more than Soto's in this machine because of the control, because of the contract, Soto being a pending UFA. But Peter, the thing is assuming we don't get both of them, you kind of have to get one of them now if you're Ross Atkins. Ken Rosenthal dropped an article yesterday basically saying that Ross Atkins and Shapiro's jobs are on the line if they don't win over the next couple years. Because if they don't get either of these guys and they stay in mediocrity, we're in a bad spot as a team and as a franchise, especially with all these renovations that are going down. So maybe they do overpay, and I do think they get an extension done if they acquire Juan Soto and if he performs well. I don't think that, so let's just assume the extension gets done, but we don't know for sure. Maybe it could be, and if you're giving up Manoah and Tiedemann and then you lose Juan Soto in free agency, you don't win the World Series, you're not in a great spot.
Well, the thing with the Jays is that they're operating on a year-to-year basis right now, and there comes a time in every rebuild or in every team's core's moment that you have to go all in. And that's what the Blue Jays did in 2015 when Alex Anthopoulos pulled the trigger on the Troy Tulowitzki trade. He pulled the trigger on the David Price trade. At the time, Troy Tulowitzki was arguably a top 3 shortstop in the game. He was one of the best players that Major League Baseball had to offer. And when it comes to David Price, I mean, this guy was a perennial Cy Young candidate. And those were the subsequent moves that ended up putting the Jays over the top. They couldn't get the job done by the end of it, but they were right there. You could argue that they were just as talented, if not more talented, than the Kansas City Royals. And if a couple more breaks went their way, then we'd be talking about a different story here. But that's when the Blue Jays realized that they kind of hit a wall. And they made those big trades earlier for Jose Reyes, for Joe Johnson, Mark Burley. I mean, all those guys. I mean, that was a big time. That was a big move for that Jays team because they were moving in the positive direction. They were trying to become contenders at that moment, and it didn't work out. So they realized they had to add more and more and more. And right now, none of those guys, whether like Soto or Ohtani, are the ones that move the needle, and they're the ones that will take this Jays team over the top. But any other piece, it doesn't move the needle enough. So the Jays have to be super aggressive in their pursuit of both of them. Now, whether or not they get one of the two, I mean, it remains to be seen, but they have to do whatever they can in their power to get one of those guys because no one else on the market is going to help get them over the top as much as those guys.
Yeah, I mean, you also make a good point. If they do think they're one piece away, like some Jays fans do, some Jays fans don't, you can make a case to trade both of them, have a chance to win a World Series. Ultimately, if you win a World Series, and it doesn't matter what you give up. We saw it with the Raptors. If you win a World Series, you win a championship, it doesn't matter what you give up. And they might be one piece away. And let's also, if they make a trade for Juan Soto, they're not going to stop there. They're going to shore up the rest of their team with other pieces. But a couple other reports here. This is a great article. You should go read it if you're interested. It kind of highlights the pressure that is under Ross Atkins to sign one of these two guys. And this is interesting. This is from Shai Davidi, maybe to temper expectations a little bit. He said, the sense that I've gotten, unless that price changes from San Diego's current demands, I'm not sure the Jays are involved, but everything in the market is very fluid and things can change quickly. This was yesterday, but then also Mark Feinstein said today that they are involved. So I don't know, Peter, reports are all over the place regarding this. I think at the end of the day, the asking price is looking something like this, and I don't think Ross Atkins at this very moment is comfortable giving up Manoah and Tiedemann until at the very least they're out of the Ohtani sweepstakes, and then maybe you pivot and make that trade. But there are other teams getting involved that can offer a lot as well. The Yankees have the pieces. It's just that they're asking for a king's ransom. You have other teams as well who are interested, who have a lot of pieces. So I don't know. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? There's just a lot of news circulating, and I don't know. I'll have another video today about Ohtani, but regarding Soto, we got to wait and see.
You got to believe that asking price is going to come down a little bit because they're expecting to get back the same return that they gave up to get Juan Soto from the Washington Nationals. And that's just not realistic because when they acquired him, they had 3 years of control left on his deal, whereas now he's going to be a free agent at the end of next season. So It's not realistic to expect that same return where you get 4 top prospects and a couple of MLB-ready players. It just wouldn't make sense. So I think the asking price is going to come down. There's going to be a lot more suitors when that does happen. But the Blue Jays' sense of urgency, I have to believe, is at the top when it comes to all the other teams. Yeah, you said there might be one piece away, and they're going to keep adding and chipping away to what their team needs in the offseason, but they're one big piece away. Like, it's not like they could get Cody Bellinger and they're World Series favorites. They need a superstar in that lineup, and Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani fit that bill. I'm afraid that no one else on the market does. So the urgency to get one of those two guys is at an all-time high, and I think the Blue Jays sense that. They might get outbid for Shohei Ohtani, or they might not get outbid and he still chooses to go elsewhere. That's okay, but that's when you have to shift your focus to Juan Soto and try to add him at all costs, even if it costs you Alek Manoah and Ricky Tiedemann. You got to win right now. And we keep talking about this 2-year window, Nick. It's closing and it's shrinking by the day. So you got to add as many big time pieces to that as possible. Or else with this current core, you're not going anywhere. Sorry to break it to you.
Yeah, and whether you like that or not regarding giving up both of them, if you're a Jays fan, unfortunately, assuming if it happens, Ross Atkins, they're under too much pressure to afford to sit back, so they might end up overpaying for a guy like this to attempt to quote-unquote save their jobs. And again, we wouldn't know whether it's an overpay or not until the season happens and with contracts. But let us know what your thoughts are on this trade in the comment section below. This isn't really a direct trade. I just wanted to show you the difference in value and the difference a contract could make, and that was a big point that you just made there. They're not going to be able, hopefully at least, to get the return that they got for him when they traded with only 1 year left to control. It doesn't make any sense. But if you want to see our video from yesterday, click on your screen right now. Hopefully the Jays can make a move soon.